Recording in progress.
Recording in progress. Okay, so good morning. One of my assignments here on Earth is teaching, instructing, helping others advance in what they do. This isn't something that this isn't something that I have to force myself to do. This stuff just happens naturally. For example, this week I had a conflict with someone in the parking lot on 25th and Western. And what happened, that's right behind the Starbucks. And I noticed this last time, this big semi truck pulls in with supplies. It pulls in and blocks parking on both sides, right? So last time he did it. I came out to leave, and I was on the side. Like one side you can get a little bit, like you can squeeze one car in there. The other side you're just blocked. And even if you can squeeze one car, you can't go in and you can't back out. So you have to. So luckily there was no parking spaces next to me. So I until I was turned, and then I left. Right. So that was last time. This time he pulled up right in front. He was in front of me. And he pulled in the parking lot. This big long semi, and he parked and blocked like 8 parking spaces on that side, 8 on this side. And so he blocked one. He was moving there, and I came in right behind him, and luckily I just parked into that one. I just stopped right there. So I went up to his window, and I said like this, and he opened the door, and I said, "Hey, I was wondering, is it possible for you to unload on the street side? Because that's open, just put your hazards and stuff like that just on the street side, and it's right near where he unloads the Starbucks. I go, is it possible for you to put over there?" And he doesn't even look at me. And I went, wow. I said, hey, and he goes, and he gets out, locks his door. I said, hey, come on, man. I go, I'm just saying because you block everybody in here, and he's trying to walk over these, block everybody in, and he turns to me and goes, I don't have to do what you say. And I said, hey, I'm just trying to help here because last time you blocked me in, this time you're blocking everybody in, and you're here for a while. And he goes, 30 minutes. And I said, okay, 30 minutes. I said, so, and I'm trying to work with this, and he's like, and he goes, I don't work for you. Wow. And I thought, oh my goodness. So I thought, all right, man, hey, I was just saying, if you could park over there, it'd really be appreciated if you could unload if that's possible for you. And so I'm walking away. And as I'm walking away, he goes to the back of the truck. He's ready to put down that, that metal thing that goes. And then he speaks out to me. He goes, you know what? You don't even know what my job entails. I thought, oh, no, you didn't. I go, are you kidding me? So I walk back over and I go, what? You bet. And he goes, and he didn't say anything. I said, what's up? And what's going on? And so he tries to put the thing, and so I stand, where that thing comes down, I stand right there. I go, you can't put it down. I said, what's going on, man? And he's like, and I said, you know what? I was walking away, and you said, why did you do that? Really? And I said, what company do you work for? And he's got a really nice outfit on and says the company in his name. I said, you know what? I go, I'm sure that company doesn't want people with attitudes like yours working for them. In fact, I can almost guarantee it. And I said, a report of your attitude to this company, man, that'll go on your record, and it'll stay there. It'll always be, you'll always have to explain. And I go, is this worth it? And he's like, and I said, wow, man. I said, I go, so I do the company, and I said, I was walking away. Why did you throw that out? It's like you threw a punch at me and hit me in the back of the head. I said, what is that, man? You're working for a company. And I said, well, or you may not be working very long for them anymore when they get a report. And then it just dawned on him. You could tell his face went, oh my goodness. And then he goes, okay. Puts his hand out. I'm sorry. I said, no. I go, sorry, it does not change your attitude. And I said, man, you went too far. You went overboard. And I said, you just threw a punch out there, and then, I mean, you're lucky I'm not somebody else. Somebody else would physically throw that punch back at you. And I said, man, your company. And he's like he couldn't understand why I didn't shake his hand and say it's okay. I go, no. And he's bewildered now. And he's like, and I said, man, you blew it. You blew it with your mouth. With your mouth, you blew it. And I said, in your company, and you blew it for your company too. And he's like, now he doesn't know what to do. And I go, okay. I said, I'm not going to turn you in. I'm not going to report you. I said, but I got to give you some advice. You can't be shooting your mouth off like that to people. Because I go, I'm sure I am not the first person that has complained. Am I right? And he goes, so you get people complain. And if you shoot your mouth off like this and the sarcastic, man, not only are you going to get hurt, your company's going to get hurt. And I said, you don't want to do that. I go, do you want this job? And he's like, yeah. I go, so then protect it. You need to think before you speak. So think ahead of time what you're going to say for people that come to you. Like, for example, I came to you and said that. All you need to say is, hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm blocking everything. I'll only be here about 30 minutes and I will do as fast as I can. And then add a little, just 2 or 3 steps that's kind of like you're hustling, like that. People love that, to get that. They love seeing that and do that. And that's it. And when people shoot their mouth off at you, don't fire back. And whatever you do, don't do what you did to me. Don't do that. I said, and he's like, I go, do you get it? He goes, yeah. I go, are you good? He said, yeah. Now shake my hand. I said, all right. I said, now have a good day. And I left. So.
And he thanked you.
He did. Mm-hmm. And then I go into the Starbucks and he goes in and does it. And Jesse and Hannah, and I go, hey, that's my new friend. What I meant is even in conflicts, I'm trying to help the person out, and that's just what I do. That's part of the gift that God has given me is teaching. Now, there are 3 primary styles of teaching in today's church. There's sermons, workshops and discussions, and classroom. I am experienced in all 3. I have over 40 years of experience in all 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine all 3 in one. That means that I will be moving through all 3 of the methods I see that would be most effective in teaching what I'm going to teach here. I'm going to be utilizing multiple methods until I find the best one that you can hold on to things. And because I believe that the things that you will be learning will be life-changing. And I could say that for all the stuff that we have been doing, but I think in this next wave, the things that God has are going to be life-changing for you. They're going to be the light bulb coming on and stuff. And it's going to be life-changing, not just for you, but for the people that you are in contact with. In many cases, with the highlighted topics that I'm going to cover, I'm going to be giving you one perspective. It'll be up to you. Listen to this. It'll be up to you to take it further. In other words, you're going to need to take the truth that we learn here and take it further and apply it to where it needs to be. And the way you do that, it's very simple. All you have to do is sit with the Holy Spirit and just ask him, Lord, how does this relate to, and then go, how does it relate to my situation? How does it relate to our world? How does it relate to our political system? How does it relate to my job? How does it relate to all of that? And let him expound to you. Now, the reason why I am not going to connect the dots, all the dots, like I'm going to say, here's the truth of God, and here's it applies in your relationship with this. The reason I'm not going to do that a lot is because these truths are universal. They're timeless. And if I do that, then this is what happens when teachers take scripture and they take a truth and they apply it to a certain thing. What happens is that verse becomes the money verse. That verse becomes the political leader verse. That verse becomes the marriage verse. That verse becomes the parenting verse. That verse becomes the worship verse. And we all of a sudden we have these verses, but they're only tied to that specific thing. Like that's the worship. But it's more. And so I don't want to tie it too closely. I'll give some perspectives, but I don't want to tie it too closely to any one thing. So it's going to be up to you to relate it to the situation. You're going to look at it and you're going to go, oh, that relates to what's going on currently right now. Exactly. Then you can relate that. But to somebody else, if you're interested in a worship, and oh man, that just relates about worship, and yet that verse really relates a lot about money too, and some other. So one of you it's going to relate to that. Somebody else is going to relate to the current political things that's going on in the world. The same scripture. So I don't want to just put it in one box for you. So I'm going to give you that truth, and then it's going to be up to you to relate it to wherever it goes. Because most verses that we know, even if it says the word money or marriage or whatever, it's not usually just that. It's a principle. So I'm not going to spend much time relating to only today's events. Because if you learn how to do this yourself, then you can apply God's truth to anything, anytime, any place. And that's the idea. So with that said, one of the subjects that I teach is theology. My job as a teacher of theology is to take the things you already know and show you multiple ways in which you can utilize them every day. Also, my job as a teacher of theology is showing you things you don't know and then ways in which you can utilize them every day. So those are the two primary things. I'm not only a teacher, but I'm a shepherd as well, but we're not going to be getting into that subject today. So we're just gonna do the teaching aspect. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Well, let me explain. In order to be a successful teacher, I must continually analyze what and how I am teaching. I have been teaching theology for, as I said, over 40 years. Wow, that's a long time. And I plan to teach as long as I am on planet Earth. So I don't have well, that's about it, I'm done. I don't think so. I can't. I go in a parking lot and I'm teaching somebody that I'm having a conflict with. So in order to teach successfully, I must continually evolve as a teacher. If not, then my teachings will become stale. And when something becomes stale, they stink. And so same thing works for me as a musician. If I do not continue to evolve as a musician, my music will eventually become stale and stink. And so the musician that I was last year was less than I am this year. And I can't wait till next year. Wow. So this year I'm already performing or singing or playing in ways that I could never do my whole life. My whole life. I could never do the things that I've been doing this year. It's like, wow. So I can't wait for next year. So as a teacher, in order to be successful, I must evolve in the same way. That's why I'm doing this. Um, this also, this concept also applies to any subject or your area of your life. Um, and the same goes for me, not only as a teacher, not only as a musician, but as a husband, a father, a friend, in the same way, evolving as a teacher. Um, so that brings us to the text I sent you this week, right? I sent you a text asking for your response and your feedback and what you were learning here at Powerhouse. I only received 4 responses out of sending them all. Either way,
I didn't get one.
oh, either way, I have been realizing more than the text. The text is just the last thing. I'll send it to you. The text, it wasn't based on the text. The text was just one more way that I can get a response. But it's been more than that. I've been realizing that you're not all learning what I'm teaching. And what I mean by that is, first of all, this is not a reflection on your ability to learn. This is a reflection on my ability to teach. We've all had tests in school, but if you look closely at the purpose of tests, in school, tests are given not just to see if the student is listening or being a good student. The primary purpose of tests are to measure the teacher and to see if the teacher is teaching well enough. That's the reason for tests. And the students don't realize that. People don't realize it, but it's to see if the teacher is connecting with those students. The goal of a teacher is for the students to learn. If the students are not learning, they're failing, it's not because that's a bad student. No, it's because the teacher's not connecting with that student or with that class. If there's a specific teacher that's failing everybody, well, what does that say? People think, oh, they're just such a good teacher. No, because that means that the students that she has or he has, the teacher's not connecting and finding a way to teach them. So again, it's not just, I'm not doing it just because only 4 people responded. That's not why. That I was just trying to get, and you still can respond. It's because I've been actually paying attention to your facial expressions, especially when I'm asking or referring to things that we supposedly already know, old stuff. And I read facial expressions, and I read people who are tracking with me, people who are, and those kind of, and I've just kind of been pushing them away, and I've asked some questions, and the reason is because my point wasn't about that, and I just kind of noticed, and then it wasn't that, so I pushed that aside to get to the new thing. And so here's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be adjusting my style of teaching to fit the room of students that we have. I'm not going to give you a test today. And I'll tell you why. Because first, number one, I don't think that you will all score as well as I would hope you to if I gave you a test of what we've done. Secondly, I am not going to give you a test because the test will reflect my teaching. So, not ready to go there. In fact, I will give you a test when I know for a fact that everybody in the room can ace it. Okay? That's just a selfish thing of mine. That's fine. So I'll be giving tests, but it won't be until I know we can all pass. Because what's the, I don't need to measure whether I need to make sure. So my goal is not to just teach some of you, but to teach all of you. It will help. I have experience in order to adjust in this way. I've never had to adjust in certain ways, but every time I've had to adjust in whatever decade I was teaching, I never done that before either. So, and this is the same thing. But either way, one of the ways that you can help me is your attendance, because if I have you there, I'm gonna go a month at a time and kind of see, evaluate you, and if you're there, you'll kind of get all the pieces as much as you can. That always helps. But either way, I'll be turning you into people that will definitely impact the world around you. That's the goal, and I know that can happen because, and I'm only one person, and I can't be everywhere at once. But you will be in contact with people throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the year that I will never have the pleasure of meeting. And that's fine. So, but it will be, those people meeting you will be just as good as if they met the both of us. And I believe that. So here's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be adjusting my method of teaching so that when I give you, or to say that I'm not going to be doing this. I'm not going to dumb it down. You know, that's, you think, oh, let's just dumb it down so everybody can pass. No. On the contrary, you're going to be learning more and more things that you've never known before, you never realized before. Now the change will be in how I get you to hold on to it. Because if you don't hold on to it, what good is it? I want you to hold on to it. And it has nothing to do with your ability of learning. It has everything to do with being able to connect and to help you. So I believe that what I'll be doing this year will be things that ordinary people or ordinary Christians don't have a clear understanding in. And how do I know that I'm going to turn the light bulb on for you? How do I know that? It's because these things that are ahead for us, I never realized them before. And I'm like going, whoa. The light bulb has been turning on more and more. And I'm thinking, wait, I didn't even realize that. I didn't realize that. I didn't see that. And it's like, wow. So God is doing something. And if he's doing it to me, he's going to be doing it to you if he's not doing it already. Where it's like, whoa, I've never seen it that way before. So the format that I am going to be using will be one that I've never used before. And I'm going to call it segments. Okay? We're going to do segments, different. Such as one segment is going to be called Foundations. And that's a foundational principles of Powerhouse. That's one. Another segment is called Background. And that's a historical and cultural backgrounds of knowing that. Another segment is the one featured truth for that day. That's a featured truth. And then another segment is recap. And that will be recaps on the things that we've already learned before. Okay. So let's see. So in other words, I'm going to be very intentional. And my goal is to teach you. I'm not just throwing information out there and like, well, I mean, Sandra, if you think it's interesting, that's great. And if not, it's just like, no. If I'm here to teach, then I'm going to make sure that you will all get what I'm trying to say. And I know I can do it. So my job as a disciple or a teacher will be actually, it's going to be pretty incredible. I'm excited because I've never tried this level. And you don't need to try something until you need to. Now, here's the only frustrating point for me. The only frustrating point for me will be the fact that I will not be able to learn for you. Man. So in other words, I'm going to be leading you to water, but it will be up to you to drink it. I wish I could drink it for you. I'm going to be helping you as much as I can possibly, though. And you'll see what I mean. I'm going to provide things that I think will help, because I know that you're going to be helping other people understand things. And I think that's the key. There's a lot of things happening today that the Bible and the scriptures, that timeless universal truth, is very applicable for everything. The thing is that people have only tied it to certain things, and they don't understand how the scripture is broader than they think. So we're going to start with our first segment. Are you ready? Okay. Our first segment is called is Foundations, and Foundations is these are the principles of Powerhouse. Okay. Dawn, can you do me a favor and pass these out?
Yes, teach.
You got it. 'Cause that's what I am. All right, go ahead. Pass it.
Do you have a copy of that page that I can put onto the for them?
No. Let me see. You mean like a digital copy?
He's in the back of the class.
Okay. Let me. That would be.
I can upload it onto the Zoom.
Okay. Just a second. I'm going to send something to Nicole so she could send it to you.
Can we fill in already?
Okay.
Or do we have to wait for you?
You have to wait.
Head of the class
But
there.
I will be picking on you since you think you know it.
I better be quiet.
Okay, honey, I'm sending you 4 pages.
Which one do
I don't know if we're going to get to them all, so I'll tell you which ones, and maybe you can send one at a time. Okay, so I'll send it to you.
As you pass them out, I'll upload them.
Okay, I sent them.
Okay. Are they separate from each other?
Yeah, they're pictures.
Make sure your answers are right.
I know. I might
Because if we're
be
gonna cheat.
Before we go there, I want to. Now this is Foundations. I gave you the Foundations one, right?
Foundational principles?
Right.
Yes.
So a foundation is what's laid first in building a house. The foundation. If you look at this picture here, if you look at this picture up on the screen, this is a house. I like this house
I like that house too.
because I love porches. I love porches, and I love the porch on this house. And it's a nice little quaint house and stuff like that. So now what we can't see in a house is the frame. That's what's behind. That's what's behind. No, it isn't.
I was like, that doesn't
No,
look
that's but any house, I just like this house. But any house, the frame is what's there. Now, this, if you look closer at the frame is based on the foundation, which is the cement. So you see the cement there? That's the foundation. That's what the frame is fastened to. I got to frame houses one year. I was a framer, and that's what I did. I put the wood up in that. Okay, so if you want to look, this is it's the foundation that we're going to fasten.
It's not letting me
everything
send it.
to.
I'm going to text it to you guys. Okay?
That's why it's important that we know 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 this. Okay? Because the Bible even talks about a shaky foundation. If it's shaky, the whole house is not going to. So we're going to be building intellectually, spiritually, and emotionally. We're going to be building up some pretty cool looking houses. Okay? But we need to make sure that our foundation, this is not a one-time thing, but we're going to go over this over and over and over. These are the things that we need to know. Yes?
So, does the framework consist of the foundation?
No. The framework is just that part. It's just the cement.
Oh, this is the framework. I thought.
No,
that
this
the-
is the foundation.
Yeah.
The frame is
That's
the
what I
wood.
thought.
The frame is the wood.
Okay, I texted it to you.
So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be giving you the frame. I'm going to give you the foundation. We're going to establish the foundation. We're going to build on the foundation, which is
The framework.
the wood, right? That you will be putting walls and stuff on, you'll decorate it however. You'll adjust the things you're going to learn however you can. But this is the bones of it. This is the framework. And you can't see. Does that make sense? So right now, this page is the foundation part, not the frame. This is the foundation. Okay. So Romans 12:2. Respond by raising your hand instead of just blurting it out.
Okay.
Because if somebody blurts it out, then we'll always have that same person because they're a blurter.
I'm sorry.
I don't know if that's a word, but I think it is now. A blurter. Okay? So Romans 12:2, don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by, Becky, changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing. So the two words that go in there is changing and think. Alvin Toffler. We're going to be going over this page every time we meet until we don't even have to look at the page to go over it. These are just the bare bones. These are not all. These are based on Scripture. They're not actual, but some of them are and some aren't. Okay, but this is what we're going to build on. Okay, Alvin Toffler. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot. Somebody raise your hand.
Is it unlearn?
Nope.
Oh, learn.
Learn now
Unlearn.
and relearn. Okay, so that's it. The three places is learn, unlearn, and relearn. And then the next thing is something plus something equals transformation. Raise your hand. Anybody? Bueller? Information plus
Transformation.
nope. Application
Oh, so close.
equals transformation.
Read the last word.
Okay, so the two words information and application. Then you have the big four: trust, faith, hope, and rest. Those are the four that go in there. I don't have a copy of what you have. The big four: trust, faith, hope, and rest.
Does it have to be in that order?
Yes. And let me tell you why.
I just put hope first.
Let me tell you why. Because
Trust.
we've laxed. When you are memorizing something, you memorize it word for word. You memorize it to get it in one. When you go, oh, it's kind of like this, it stays unwavering. It stays wavering. So we're gonna learn it in this way: trust, faith, hope, and rest. Okay. So the line here: trust is placing what in God's hands? Somebody, Becky. The outcome. So it's two words: the outcome. The outcome. Trust is placing the outcome in God's hands. Okay? Faith is what to truth of God. Somebody. No, you already did it, Becky. Faith is. Give it a shot.
Holding on.
Holding on. So it's two words: holding on. Faith is holding on to a truth of God, and what?
Not letting go.
Not letting go.
Oh, we already-
Three words: not letting go, no matter what.
Yeah, you got it.
Faith is holding on to a truth of God and not letting go, no matter what. Hope is what Imagining what, yes, but it's even more. Good God.
can do.
God can do.
Good God.
Good God.
A good God. Imagining what good, imagining what good God can do. Okay? Because we're not just imagining what good can happen, we're taking it up a notch. We're imagining what good God can do. And that goes far beyond anything we can do. Okay? And then the fourth one is rest. Rest is an exchange. And the verse that's there is Matthew 11:28. Then Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest." This is an exchange. That's the process of this happening. What else do we have? So, how to analyze, meditate, and apply Scripture, and that's by these 4 questions. These 4 questions or 4 words help you know how to analyze Scripture, meditate on Scripture, and apply Scripture. So, what is the what? Highlighted? Another word. What is the yes? But give me another word. What it starts with an S? What is the?
Get one for him.
Anybody? Subject. What is the subject of the matter?
Wait, what?
What is the subject?
I would have not thought of that.
Okay, so what is the subject? But you'll forever you will know it now. What is the subject? In other words, what does it matter? Okay?
It's not an S.
And so the second one is why is it what? Anybody?
That's
Highlighted.
No?
No?
Important.
Important. Why is it important to you? So the first is what is the subject? Secondly, why is it important to you?
So can I ask a question?
Uh-huh.
The subject part, is that what you used to say was highlighted? Was
Yes.
start highlighting?
Yes.
Okay.
That's why you
So
said
Becky
that.
was-
But I'm just making it general. It's the same thing, but it just gives it a better base word on it. That's why Becky said that, is because
That's how I remember it.
That's
exactly.
what he usually says. Or used to.
And the third one is how can you apply it? 2 words, apply it.
How can what?
How
Why can you?
apply it. So it's 2 words, apply it. And then the last one is when.
Can you?
No, not can.
Will you?
Will you? Will you? Okay? Now, I gave you 3 holes because I'm going to be passing out papers, maybe 3 or 4 today, and so that you can keep a hold of this. You could put notes on this, but so you could have it all in one place.
I think you gave us a while ago. We started doing that a long time.
Maybe too long.
No clue
Too
what's
long.
that.
So you could find your own 3-ring binder. They have, even 1/2-inch ones that, are a bit bulky. And so I'll punch the holes so you can put in there. So you could have one place that all of this goes into. Question? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you had a
Oh,
question.
no. Well, I do kind of have a question.
Sure.
I'm just curious to know. I know you said that it's a new method and
It's a new
you'll
method.
always be there with us, so wherever
Right.
we are, it's like you're there with us. But my question is, so what made you do that? Is it because, did you find that some people weren't grasping, or did you feel like...
It went back to I'm teaching voice now to people, and I'm realizing that the people that I'm teaching voice to, I have to customize it because they're in different places. So I have to think. I don't just have a curriculum like, okay, now learn how to warm up like this, because warming up for some people, they can go and all these different weird things that I don't do. The best way that I warm up is humming. That's one of the best ways you can warm up your voice. I learned that in college. I learned that when I took private voice. Humming. And it fits. You can do it anywhere. And I'll do that kind of thing. So I've kind of had to personalize each to get them to learn, which reminded me of that I'm a teacher and that I have to customize and adapt in order to teach this person how to sing. So this person is an elderly person, so I'm not dealing with younger. This person has asthma. This person has some heart trouble. I got my work cut out for me because they think I can't sing because I can't breathe. Yes, you can, because singing doesn't take a lot of wind, but they don't realize that. So I'm teaching this whole thing. In doing that, it caused me to think I have to dip in and figure out how to teach this person so that they could learn. And then it reflected, what else am I teaching? And that's where this came into. And I started thinking, how is this being effective? Then I started thinking, yeah, if I had to go, what was, trust, faith, hope, and not everybody. I remember last time I did that, I said, what is the trust? And I got like 3 or 4 different answers. No, 2 different answers. And I thought, why 2? It's because and then I asked another thing and I got different answers. And I thought, when you learn something, you learn something. You can adapt it a certain way, but you have to learn it. You don't learn 4 different ways of it. You learn one, and then you adapt it. But you learn that thing, right? So I don't go to Alvin Toffler and do his thing and go, yeah, the best thing is, no, I know it word for word. So it caused me to start analyzing what kind of a teacher I am in everything. And that's what sparked this. And I realized, so, Lord, I think my goal is if intellectually, if somebody meets me and starts asking me questions, my goal is to make it as though they're meeting you and you can do the same thing. That understanding. It's not like I have all these great wisdoms no. But I've worked in teaching so long that I could put it together myself and adjust and customize things for individual things. So it's not like the class is dumb and I've got, no. So you don't feel that way. But in other words, it caused me to step it up even more. And so I really want to develop, I've said this before, but more now. I want to develop all you to be amazing leaders in this world. Yeah.
I know in my teaching, because I do the same thing long enough that, because the thing is, and I said it when we had the game thing we played, that the most important thing for me is that the light comes on. You mentioned that earlier today. And I talk to students all the time who have tons of information, but no connectivity to it.
Yeah.
So they know what it is, but they don't know how it connects. So basically going back allows you, or going from where you are now,
Yeah.
And refocusing on what it is, the same thing I do, what it is that the information that I'm conveying is to be able to cut the light on. They have the switch.
Yeah.
And their hand's on the button.
Yep.
But they have to push it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have to.
And the more confident you become with knowing, then you can push it up anytime, anywhere you want. The less confident you are, it's like, I'm not sure.
And then you look back at the teacher and say,
Yeah. Oh, you go.
It's in your
This is
hand,
like
it
this.
drops. It doesn't go up.
But you see that you're going to amaze yourself because you're going to get to the point where you're helping other people learn how to flip the switch. You're beyond whether you know why you're switching it, but now you're helping someone else do it. And so this is beyond this. That's the goal. And just like Don was saying. Okay, so that's that. Keep that with you, if you will. That brings us to the second segment. So, Don.
It's just like a back of class thing.
To keep you awake.
We don't want that. I am always awake.
No, you're not.
I'm in meditation.
Oh, what you interact.
See,
You're not
he said
always-
something and then I closed my eyes and got him.
Yeah. But we don't interact with you like we are now.
That's okay. I don't mind.
It's better now.
Oh, I got this.
Sometimes you have to get out of our
There you go.
comfort zone.
So you're saying that this is purposely.
You do it so well.
This is called background. This is historical and cultural backgrounds. It's important that we have historical and cultural backgrounds because it really develops all the truths. It develops where to put them. It's like if you get new clothes and you don't hang them up or you don't put them in, you don't have a place for them, then they just become a pile in your room. And then not only is it a pile, but then you don't know where it is next time you want it. You don't know if it's clean. You don't know if you have time. And so what happens is you don't end up using it. It's easier to go to the closet and wear something that's already hanging, already ironed, already there. It's just easier to use rather than the new thing that you like is somewhere on the floor somewhere. So a background is really, we're making a structure, a framework, so that you can hang all the things that we're going to be learning, and then you know where they fit in time, historically, and culturally. Does that make sense? Does it make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So can you hand me one?
John's getting it.
Like, oh?
Teacher's pet. He's gonna
Yeah.
I'm people monitoring to touch my papers.
That's what I was thinking. I was sitting here and I'm, teacher's pet?
See how we label people.
So if we don't have a place to put all the things that we're going to learn, then that's a problem because then if we don't know where they're at when we need them, we're not going to use them. We're going to use what comes easier. So we're going to develop a background, and it's like a framework of knowing where to hang all the things that we're going to learn. Okay. First of all, let me say this: in 1940s and 50s, I think it was, I met some friends a few years ago that graduated from San Pedro High in 1948, and so we were talking about historical San Pedro. And those guys were talking to me, and back in that day, in the 50s, 40s, 50s, or whatever, San Pedro's and I want you to raise your hand if you can guess this. San Pedro's demographics were made up of 3 groups of people. Can you guess what 3 groups of people it was? If you can guess one at a time, raise your hand though, if you want to guess. 3 groups of people that made up San Pedro. Okay, one is what? Croatian, yes. What's another one?
Italian?
Italian is the other one. And anybody want to give a stab?
Japanese?
Nope.
Oh.
Mexican. Okay? Mexicans, Italians, and Croatians. Those are the 3 groups that were people that I learned from those guys, okay? So, at the time of Jesus, there were 3 groups of people that populated Jerusalem. One were the Greeks. The Hebrews and the Romans. Greeks, the Hebrews, and the Romans. This is why the New Testament, we have the earliest transcripts are written in Greek. Why? That was the language that was spoken there, and so forth. So here's a question I have for you, and raise your hand if you can give any kind of a guess or input into it. Why do you think there were 4 Gospels written? Anybody want to take a stab at it? Why were there 4 Gospels? Notice there's 4 Gospels. Why wasn't it just one? Yeah. Yes, but it's even a bigger reason.
The focus of who they were speaking to?
Who they were speaking to. Okay? these were written to different people. Matthew was written to Jews. That was Matthew's audience. Matthew's gospel was written to the Jews.
Is that what we put?
Sure, yes. Was written to the Jews. Or you could either put Jews or you could put was written to the Jews, however you want. Mark, take a stab at it, anybody? Was written to the Romans. Mark's gospel, his audience, targeted audience were the Romans. Luke, Greeks. What about John?
Gentiles.
Yes and no. John was written to everyone. So it included the Gentiles, but it was to everyone.
Good job, Omar.
So Matthew was written to Jews, Mark was written to the Romans, Luke was written to the Greeks, John was written to everyone.
Mark was written to who?
Romans.
Romans.
This is why we have the four Gospels rather than just 2 or 3.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So Jews, Hebrews, Israelites, is there a difference in those?
What's the question on there?
What is the difference?
Yeah. Like, I don't
Well,
know.
it's the next question. We waited it. You have to wait.
Oh, okay.
I like that. Some people read on ahead, and a teacher always says, "Don't read ahead." Well, I know she doesn't, so that's.
I'm like, oh, okay.
Right on cue.
You're supposed to skim the paper.
Go to the front of the class.
In fact, this question is our featured truth for today.
What? What's the difference between?
What is the difference between
We have a featured
Hebrews, Israelites, and Jews? So this is the featured
truth. I
truth.
like that. A featured truth.
I'm going to put featured truth at the
Yes,
top of this
this is the featured truth.
What is the difference? I don't know the difference.
What do you think? Anybody, take a stab at it, even if you just guess. What do you think the difference of, what's the difference between these? You have any idea?
I'm gonna just guess.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
I would say that Israelites are people from Israel.
Okay. Wow.
I knew that one.
And Hebrew is their language, and a Jew would be their religion.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's it. I'm not actually going to tell you whether you're right or wrong, but I'm just wanting to get some things. That's just interesting. That's pretty much kind of what I would have guessed before,
But it's not.
because it's vague, isn't it? I mean,
Seems like it's the same.
yeah.
Somebody's a Pharisee here.
Okay, so I'll put it this way: today, you will know the distinct difference between all 3 of them and why all 3 of them were used. They're not all the same. Okay, 3 names.
Different sides, you're going to say Sadducees and Pharisees? Does that fit somewhere?
Again, I'm not going to tell you whether you're right or wrong because I'm going to answer it. But I just wanted to get your guesses. These are the guesses. So you'll find out, and you'll actually answer yourself today on that. Okay. So 3 names were written. Oh, I have this on purpose. I forgot about this. 3 names were written. 3 names carrying history, identity, and eternal promises. Each of them bring to mind images of patriarchs and who walk by faith, kingdoms, almighty prophecies. So here, the question is are these 3 the same? Or are they distinct? So we have the Hebrews.
I think I know where you're going.
And then what's the next one?
Israelites.
Israelites.
Time frame.
And Jews.
And Jews. Okay. Now, in most Christian circles, these 3 terms are interchangeable. And when people use these, they usually, without pausing, they'll just they just figure all of them are the same. But they're not. They're not. As we look closer at Scripture and history, we will see that each was born at a specific time under unique circumstances, and each marked different stages in the development of the chosen people. You're going to learn about why the chosen people were chosen. Not a lot of people know that. It's in the news now. Israel's in there, and a lot of people don't know. You will know today, okay?
That's when it all starts.
Hey, they don't like it because they're not chosen.
These terms are more than just words. They are traces of identity that God has preserved through the centuries. I want to show you how each name reveals a part of God's amazing plan for his people. Each have a specific origin, each have a distinct historical background, and each have a unique application in God's plan. In most modern Christian circles, this distinction is overlooked. And that's the way it's been in my life. Just however you want to put it. Maybe one's older than the other. That's as far as I can go. In seeing the distinction of these terms, we can see how God dealt with his people throughout time. So we're going to look back at the origin of each one. The history, the linguistics, the theology, and the Jewish culture. So let's start with the oldest one, Hebrews. This is the first name that identified the covenant people. Long before the Israelites, and centuries before the Jewish identity was integrated. But the question is what does Hebrew mean? And where does it come from? And that's what we're going to see. Genesis 14:13 says this. I'll read 14:13. But one of Lot's men escaped and reported everything to Abram the Hebrew. Now, out of all the titles that could have been given to Abram, now Abram was changed to Abraham later, but out of all the titles, he could have given him shepherd, nomad, man of God. He was given the title Hebrew. This is where we first see it. Abram the Hebrew. That was intentional. This is where it started. This is where that word first came up. The term Hebrew comes from the word ivri, and it means one who crossed over. That's what the word means. One who crossed over. The word Hebrew. The question is, crossed over what? Well, we know that God called Abram out of Ur, of the Chaldeans, and then later out of Haran. So he crossed over. It's possible. Abraham also crossed over the great river Euphrates and entered the land of Canaan. Canaan is the modern Jerusalem today. So this is way back then. So Genesis 12, verse 1 through 5, I'm going to read. This is what happened to Abram. The Lord had said to Abram, leave your native country, your relatives, and your father's family, and go to the land that I will show you. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you and make you famous, and you will be a blessing to others. I will bless those who bless you and curse those who treat you with contempt. All the families on earth will be blessed through you. So Abram departed as the Lord had instructed, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran. He took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, and all his wealth, his livestock, and all the people he had taken into the household at Haran, and headed for the land of Canaan. And then they arrived in Canaan. So the crossing was more than just geographical; it was spiritual. Abram crossed over from a world of idolatry. Abram's father was a maker of idols. This was his job. The family business was making idols.
Wow.
So he crossed over, and get this, Abram didn't have a Bible. He didn't have the Torah. He didn't have any of that. He didn't have people witnessing to him. He didn't have Sunday school. He didn't have church. He didn't have anything. And out of the blue, almost, they thought, he comes up with this idea that he's only going to worship one God, that there's only one God. And he starts his questioning God, and he started interacting with God and knowing that there was one God. He crossed over from idolatry to just one God. Abram's father was a maker, his family was a maker of many gods, and Abram chose to worship only one God, and he went there all by himself. Talk about feeling like you're the only one. He was the only one. Wow. I'm going to do what nobody else is doing. I'm going to worship one God. So he crossed over from his old identity into a new covenant relationship with God. He didn't have all these things that we have, and he made this decision and stuck to it. So when Scripture calls him Abraham the Hebrew, it's pointing more to his ancestry. He's describing a man who crossed over in obedience and faith. That's the original meaning of the word Hebrew. He crossed from the old world into God's calling, from the familiar into the unknown, trusting God completely. Hebrew is not only an ethnic label, it's a covenant identity. It marks Abraham as the man who stepped away from everything he knew to follow the voice of God. What's amazing is that the identity continues with Abraham's descendants. Joseph, later on, while in prison in Egypt, he tells Pharaoh's cupbearer in Genesis 40:15, this is what it says: "For I was in fact kidnapped from the land of the Hebrews." That means now they're starting to identify it's this people group that have crossed over from idolatry to worshiping one God. And now they have a name. They're the Hebrews. Yeah.
I just want to say something because I do this when I teach also.
Mm-hmm.
I have a tendency, one thing as teachers we need to look at is we need to look at what the students are doing from a note-taking point of view. Because we tend to talk faster than someone gets notes, and we miss stuff. So as teachers, we need to slow down.
So and then if I give a scripture and you don't know, just ask.
Was there one given on Joseph? I missed it.
Well, there is Exodus 1:15 and 16.
On what?
And excuse me, that was Pharaoh. That was Moses.
I missed
I didn't
Joseph.
Joseph that was held captive, he said.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Genesis 40:15.
Joseph 40.
What was that other one before that? That's 40.
Genesis
Exodus
12, 1
something.
through 5.
Huh?
So after Genesis
Genesis
1 to
12.
5.
12, 1 through 5.
And
Yeah.
then what was after that?
After that was
40
the
to 15.
Exodus
40 to 50 was Genesis.
Genesis
And I haven't got to Exodus 1:15, but that's the next one.
Genesis 40, I'm sorry.
And then Pastor Bob.
Oh, what about Exodus?
Well, that's where we're
Not
going.
to that yet.
Is that Joseph?
No,
Pastor Bob.
it's Moses and Pharaoh.
15.
It's just an example on Exodus 1:15. On 1:15, at 16 too, but 1:15, I'm giving you places of where this term is used. References. So 15, it says, "Then the king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrew midwives." And so now they're classifying these Hebrew. He's classifying this group of people as these one God people, these people that have crossed over from what everyone in the world is doing. They're different. And they're being called Hebrews, the crossover people.
But why did they call them Hebrews?
Well, it started with Abraham. Abraham started it by himself because the word means crossover. Abraham crossed over from idolatry first, and then his descendants
Okay.
ended up that same thing,
Taking on the name.
taking on that from that point.
So in Exodus 1, 15 through 16,
Is an
they
example
actually
of-
get their name.
Yeah, you could see where that name now is being stamped on people.
Yeah, so it was first used in the Bible, Genesis 14:13. With Abram, they called him Abram the Hebrew.
And by the way, Don, thank you for that.
Yeah, and I want to say something else. I always tell my students also, you're paying for this class. So if you're not stopping me and I'm going over it, you're wasting your money.
Yeah.
I'm here to give you information that you can use. So you need to tell me when something is wrong. So we all need to be verbal to make sure
Thank you.
that we're
And this is my mic, so please go ahead.
Pastor Bob,
Yes.
will we also
Just a
be
second,
able to
excuse me.
access the
Hold on,
recording?
we need to put it
I'm
louder.
gonna put it louder. Hold on, Lucian.
Say that again.
Just asking if we'll be able to access the recording afterwards.
Nicole says yes.
Wonderful. Thank you.
We don't know
I'm
exactly
not
when it'll be
listening again.
uploaded, but
I'll try to do it today.
okay. So you'll have to connect with Nicole or get that information.
Thank you.
Okay. The Hebrew was a term often used by outsiders when they're referring to God's people. For example, the Egyptians. When the Egyptians wanted to talk about these people that only had one God, it was these crossover people, these Hebrews. Okay? The Philistines did the same thing. How do they categorize these people? This is the first term. We classify people as Christians, but that's Christ. This is way back. This is the first term that was used, called them Hebrews. It was a way of saying these people are different. They worship different, and they only have one God. That was how they identified them. Hebrews went against what was common. They don't live like the surrounding nations. They belong to a distinct group called Hebrews. 1 Samuel 14:11. 14:11, 1 Samuel.
Is this still in the same Hebrew?
Still. This is where the Philistines are using this term.
one more time, Samuel what?
1 Samuel 14:11. 1 Samuel 14:11. So just to remember, when you're writing down a scripture reference, always write down the number first. So when I say 1 Samuel 14:11, you say in your mind 14:11, 1 Samuel. Because for whatever reason, it's harder to remember the number than it is the word. So when you go 14:11, then you go 1 Samuel. That's how you write it down.
Right before you, First Samuel, you said they worship different and they.
They
13, 14? First Samuel 14:11.
14:11, I wrote 14.
These people are different. They worship different. They worship only one God. One God. That's what made them different. Strange.
It's kind of like referring to the Amish.
Yeah, like those people, we call them Amish people, right? If we see a beard that's only down here, we describe them like an Amish beard, right? Because that describes those kind of
And
people.
they're kind of different.
Exactly. So this is what was going on. And I'm giving you examples of the different groups of people that are identified. So 1 Samuel 14:11, the Philistines are mocking them. And they're saying the Hebrews are coming out of their holes they have hidden. So they're even making fun of these people, but they're still using the term Hebrews. Even in ridicule, the distinction remains. The Hebrews were known as a people set apart. This tells us something important. Originally, the word Hebrew was not a nationality. It wasn't a political identity. It was a spiritual and covenantal one. Yeah. It described the family that traced its faith back to Abraham. That's what it described. Spiritual and covenantal. Now, we'll get into that a little more. A covenant that God made with Abraham. And your descendants. Remember that? I read that whole portion. That what I read was the covenant being made, where God said, I will bless your people. That's the covenant. That's the agreement that God made.
Just for future reference. I needed more room
I
here.
was just gonna say something about that.
Yeah.
I would turn it over on the back, and you have the whole back to write notes. Sorry, I should have mentioned that. So, and you could do in the back, you could write Hebrew, and then just go, and then write as much as you want.
My bubbles are going up the side.
That's what I would do.
I do have it going around the page.
Yeah. If I gave you the amount of room to put that in there, we would just have papers and papers and papers. So anytime you need more room, I do it two ways. When I make notes, I either write a little bit and then I do an arrow to the back, or I just start on the back. So you're gonna want to put all this on the back because we're gonna.
Are you ready?
Okay, what was that last thing you were talking about?
Your pad.
Oh, and I have this. I just write a lot. It just helps me
There
retain.
you go. Just don't write on the table.
Uh-oh.
So being a Hebrew meant belonging to a line of people who had been called out and set apart. And it marks a people that go back to Abraham. Okay? It describes a family trace of faith back to Abraham. This faith started with Abraham. Abraham's the first one that crossed over from idolatry that we know of into this one God. And then now all these people that follow them are connected to Abraham. It's a way of saying Hebrews, these crossovers are, and so that's how that started. Does that make sense?
Different.
Any other questions on Hebrews?
Different.
Let's move to Israelites.
Okay.
Who are the Israelites?
Arrow going to back of page.
Yeah.
Huh?
Who are the Israelites? To understand who the Israelites are, we need to focus on one pivotal movement in Scripture, and it involves Abraham's grandson, Jacob. Okay? So you have Abraham, Isaac. Is it AA?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, no.
Yeah.
ISAAC.
ISAAC
Yeah.
and Jacob. Okay? So Abraham's son is Isaac, Isaac's son, Jacob. So this goes to Abraham's, the Hebrew, his grandson. In Genesis 32 Genesis, Jacob explains a life-changing encounter after wrestling all night with an angel of the Lord. Jacob hears these words, and I'll read in Genesis 32:28, to be specific. 32:28. Everybody get that? 32:28.
And this is Isaac? No, this is Jacob.
Jacob.
Yeah. Sorry.
So this is the grandson,
This is the grandson.
not the son.
Right.
Abraham, Isaac, okay.
So the grandson. We're learning where the word Israelite first began, and this is where it began. And I'm going to read Genesis 32:28. It says, "Your name will no longer," remember, this is while he's wrestling the angel all night long, and then Jacob hears these words from the angel. "Your name will no longer be Jacob," the man told him. "From now on, you will be called Israel, because you have fought with God and with men and have won." And I don't have the exact right now, but Israel is that overcomer, that victor. And that's what it means. So in that moment, Jacob received a new name. The name that was given to him was Israel. That was the first time we hear the word Israel. Now, from Jacob's 12 sons comes 12 tribes of Israel. The 12 tribes of Israel. Really what it's saying is the 12 sons of Jacob. So you have, I guess I could put them, Reuben, Simeon, might be too low. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar with 2 S's. Issachar. Zebulun. Oh my goodness. Zebulun with an N. Then you have Joseph. I'm going to put him over here. Joseph, Benjamin. These are not in order. And then you have Dan and Naphtali. That's Naphtali. And then you have Gad and Asher. Whew. Okay, so these are the 12 sons of Jacob.
Can we see it? Can you see it?
How's that?
I thought they said, "Can you sing it?"
I did.
Reuben,
Father
Simeon
Abraham
had many sons, and then so this is Jacob had many sons as well. Okay, so as Israelites, an Israelite by definition is a descendant of Jacob, the man whose name was changed to Israel. This is where the identity of Israelites began. What started as a single family grew rapidly. Exodus 1:7. Oh, and this is where that is. Exodus 1, it describes the explosive growth in Egypt of Jacob's family.
Where?
Exodus 1:7. Exodus 1:7. I'll leave this up if you want to put it.
Yes, please. Yeah, I'm working on it still.
Exodus 1:7 says this, but their descendants, the Israelites, had many children and grandchildren. In fact, they multiplied so greatly that they became extremely powerful and filled the land. This is what freaked out Pharaoh. It's estimated that these descendants grew into, most people think it was 2 million. 2 million Israelites, descendants of Jacob, that were in Egypt in captivity. This is why Pharaoh had to make them slaves, because if he didn't, he was worried that they would take over. So he had to keep them under captivity. God was fulfilling now this massive, right? 400 years in captivity in Egypt. You have the sons of Jacob, the families of these 12 multiplying and multiplying and multiplying centuries till you get to a 2 million mark. That's a lot of descendants. Why did this happen? God was fulfilling his promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. When God spoke to Moses at the burning bush, he identified himself as, this is interesting, when God spoke to Moses at the burning bush, he identified himself as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Wow. When God gives that as a title, man, that's so directly tying his covenant to the Israelites. This is him, yeah.
So, I'm sorry, I'm gonna back up.
Don't be sorry.
So, Isaac, you kind of skipped over him. The God of Abraham. It's only
Because he
was
started
the son.
none of these 3 names. We're just going these 3 names. We're looking at the origin of Hebrews, Israelites, and
Okay.
Jews.
Okay, got it. So it's
Right. There's a whole lot of stuff with Isaac.
Yeah.
just begat.
Yeah. But we're only focusing on those 3 names.
Only because he's the father of Jacob, right?
Yes.
Everything started from Jacob and the 12 tribes.
Well, the name. Right. Yeah. But the multiplication exploded under Jacob and his sons to, in captivity, just making family. A lot of family. Okay? So throughout the books of Moses and the historical books that follow, God's people are most often called the children of Israel or the Israelites? Israel is Jacob. So now you have this group of people, a massive group of people now, that are descendants of Jacob, Abraham's grandson. And they're the children of Jacob, all of them, descendants. And now they've been given a name, the children of Israel. And they also have been given a name, the Israelites. They are the nation God delivered from slavery in Egypt, led through the wilderness, and brought into the promised land. That's what the Israelites, or the children of Israel, are known for. And if Deuteronomy 7:6, Deuteronomy is D-E-U-T. I always get those mixed up. Like duet, it's the reverse of duet. It's D-E-T.
Okay.
Deuteronomy 7:6. 7:6. And this describes what I'm talking about, and I'll read it. 7:6 Deuteronomy. For you are a holy people who belong to the Lord your God. Of all the people on earth, the Lord your God has chosen you to be his own special treasure. Being an Israelite was more than just having an ancestry. It meant belonging to God's covenant nation, chosen. Now here's the question that a lot of people don't realize. Why were the Israelites the chosen people? And this is a big thing today, the chosen people. But understand what they were chosen for. These Israelites, that's where we're at right now, these Israelites, or children of Israel, were not chosen people to go to heaven. They were not chosen people to have extra favor. God chose a group of people to reflect his character. I'm going to choose these people so you can see their character, because I'm going to involve myself and carry out his promise to the world. I'm going to use these people as an example. Look at my actions to these people and how we integrate as an example. So he's choosing these people, not, we think that Israel's just a favored people, like they're God's favorite. No, they're not God's favorite. We're all God's favorite. They're not the only group that's going to heaven. No, they're not. The chosen had nothing to do with heaven. He just took a people and said, I'm going to watch how I interact. You're going to see my glory. You're going to see how and what I do. I'm going to choose these people and watch this action. And we watch it through Scripture. So all he's chosen them for is to reflect him. Does that make sense? You see how that can get switched over today to where they think, oh, they're the better group, like God's favored? God's favorite? No, they're not. We're all God's favorite. It's just like people asking me which child of mine is my favorite. And I say, Jesse's my favorite. And they go, oh, I go, yeah, but Hannah's my favorite too. And Robert's my favorite. And Kim's my favorite. And Olivia's my favorite. They're all my favorites. And so, since they're all my favorite, I think it was on Jesse's annual on the back, I put to my favorite daughter. And people are like, oh, I can't believe he said that's his favorite one. And I did that on purpose because they're all my favorite. So I call them all my favorite. So God doesn't have a favorite people that he's going to bless over other people. That is not true. He did not pick them to show them special attention over anybody. That's not he chose a group of people to reflect his character and to be involved in, so people can see and watch the interaction of how he deals with these people, whether they do good or bad. There's good people, good leaders of Israel in the past. There's bad leaders. Watch how God dealt with them. And God has just chosen people to be highlighted. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Does that clear up anything than what you've understood before?
Mm-hmm.
Question?
Maybe I'm confused. Is it Jacob and Esau? The two were Esau that gets divided? and then he chose Jacob to be to carry the name Israelites and all that stuff. Am I
Esau
confused?
gave away his birthright.
Right, but he was first, right? And so, but he did it,
Jacob was
and that's what the big fight is right now with Israel, because they think
Well, it's
way
actually,
out in the hole.
it's to the person it's Isaac. It's back with Isaac and Ishmael.
Okay, that's what I'm getting
Yeah.
mixed up.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
That's
Ishmael.
what I'm getting mixed up.
Yeah.
So when we say
We're not going to go there
Okay.
because we're not going to open that door
Okay.
because we're not going there. I won't. So
It's a whole other
that's
subject.
another thing. We'll go to that now.
Because I'm saying they're chosen.
It's
but then
interesting,
they're-
though.
okay. I'll wait.
This is fun, this is the best.
So this identity,
That's why I was thinking.
this identity that had if Israelites, the children of Israel, faced a major crisis. So after they were freed from Egypt, they came over to the promised land. What's the promised land? That's Israel, today's Israel. Okay? They came over to this land, and that the brothers separated and had portions of this land. Okay? So you had all 12 of the tribes all in the land and separated. If I had a map, you could see Israel and you have all the different, okay?
Did it used to be Canaan?
Yes. That's
Yes,
what I was gonna say.
Canaan is the promised land. Canaan is originally, it's like a one mount, and the city of David is on there. That's where it started, and then Jerusalem, and and so that land, that's Jerusalem, goes way back to Abraham, where he went to Mount Moriah to sacrifice Isaac. We're not going to go there, but he sacrificed Isaac. He sacrificed Isaac on the same place where Jerusalem is today, the same place where Canaan is, the same place as the Promised Land. They're all the same place. Jerusalem, Mount Moriah, Canaan, the Promised Land, same
Temple
place.
Mount.
I
Temple
thought Canaan
Mount.
was like a huge land area. It was
Temple
so
Mount.
So
that-
it's Israel then.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, Jerusalem.
No, excuse me. Say it again.
Canaan was Israel?
So Canaan equals
The
Israel?
Promised Land, yeah. So the head area. So okay, Canaan you could spread out, but the main focus was Jerusalem, was that mountain. So Canaan. Go ahead.
It didn't become Israel until 1940 something, right? 48? Is that where it became a state, Israel?
Well, it was named when the sons went into and they brought their families. Okay, so you're separating 2 million people into these areas. You had something drastic happened. Okay, King David had a son named Solomon. Solomon built the temple in Jerusalem, which was in Judah's territory. Okay, and then after Solomon, Israel divided. Civil war. It became the northern and the southern. So the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. In the northern kingdom, you have 10 of the 12 tribes that were represented there. They kept their name Israel. Okay? They kept their name. The northern section, I don't have a map. The northern section, the majority, 90% of Israel was the northern section. They're the 10 tribes of the southern kingdom was called Judah. That was Judah's area and consisted primarily of the tribes of Judah and Benjamin. Along with the Levites, Levites were the priests, and they served the temple. So the northern kingdom quickly fell, okay, follow me, into idolatry. Okay, so they went back into idolatry, even though they were being warned over and over by prophets like Elijah, Hosea, and Amos, are warning the Israelites to not go into idolatry, and yet they did still. 2 Kings 17:6. 17:6, 2 Kings. 2 Kings 17:6. This is where the northern kingdom was conquered by the Assyrian Empire. In 722 BC, the Israelites, the 10 tribes, the northern kingdom, were all captured. Remember, they all fell into idolatry, and what comes next is captivity. So the Assyrian empire captured them and took them away. These 10 tribes never returned to a unified nation. And they became, you may have heard this term before, the lost tribes of Israel. You ever heard that before, maybe on the History Channel?
I've heard that about Dan.
The lost tribes of Israel. These were the tribes that were captured by Assyrian Empire in 722 BC. Yes, we just closed it because there was a fire out there.
Oh,
But if it just pull, yeah. Are you following me with that one? Have you ever heard of that term, the lost tribes of Israel? This is what they're referring to. They never came back. The northern kingdom never came back and unified. Once they were taken in 722 BC from the Assyrian Empire, they scattered. The lost tribes of Israel scattered. Only the southern kingdom remained at this point. This is the kingdom Judah. And now this goes into the next part of the story. Jerusalem was its capital, and the temple remained the heart of worship. Even though Judah also struggled with sin, God preserved the kingdom because of his covenant with David. God was faithful to his covenant. Again, he chose a group of people so that the world can see his interaction with this one group, so they can measure it and see who God is. And what we see is God keeping his covenant with a group of people, the chosen group that he chose to utilize as an example of people to see him. That's why they were chosen.
So what about the top part of Israel then?
So they were all taken. So all that's left was that bottom part. So they were all, at 722 BC, they were conquered and taken by the Assyrian Empire. And we'll get in more into that, and then, yeah.
Oh, is that before or after the Babylonians? I always get mixed up.
Before.
Okay. So
Okay,
Babylonians
we haven't got there yet.
Okay.
2 Kings 8:19. Did I say that already?
Wait, who was the ones that were warning them? Ezra, who else? Did you say?
Oh, the prophets who warned them.
Yeah.
And you find this through their Elijah, Hosea, and Amos. These are the ones that constantly warned the northern kingdom, the Israelites. Remember, they kept their name, Israelites. But they still went into idolatry. And when you go that way into idolatry, the next step is captivity.
So to this day, what?
We're not bringing it to this day yet. We're not, because we're still going. No, because the story keeps going. The story keeps going.
I like that. When you go into idolatry, the next step is captivity.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's prophetic even.
So this is where we're at, because I'm going here, and your question will be answered by this. Only the southern kingdom remained. And it was Judah. Remember, there's only 2 tribes, Judah and Benjamin's. The Levites didn't have land because the Levites were, but I'm going to explain that later at another time. Jerusalem was the capital and of Judah, and remained the heart of worship, because remember, this is all that's left. Even though Judah had also struggled with sin, God preserved the kingdom because of his covenant with David, which is in 2 Kings 8:19. That's what I had said. It says this: but the Lord did not want to destroy Judah, for he had promised his servant David that his descendants would continue to rule shining like a lamp forever.
What was the address on it?
2 Kings 8:19.
18?
19.
19. 8:19. Sorry, it's my accent. Sorry. This is why, again, God chose these people so that we could all see how he keeps his promise. From this preserved remnant would emerge the next identity in Scripture, the Jews. The word Jew comes from the name Judah, one of Jacob's 12 sons. Judah wasn't just one of the many tribes. From the beginning, Judah was marked for leadership. Genesis 49:10. Genesis 49:10. 49:10. Genesis. Jacob prophesied over his son Judah, saying, this is what he said, the scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from his descendants, until the coming of the one whom it belongs, the one whom all nations will honor. The prophecy pointed toward the kingship, the authority, and ultimately the coming Messiah from the tribe of Judah. First came King David, then Solomon. This is the royal line that ruled the southern kingdom. When the United Kingdom, not England, but the United Kingdom split after Solomon's reign, Judah became the core of the southern kingdom. And alongside Judah were the tribe of Benjamin and many Levites who continued to serve in the temple in Jerusalem. When the northern kingdom of Israel was destroyed by the Assyrians in 722 BC, the southern kingdom was all that remained of God's covenant nation. From that point forward, the people of the kingdom became known collectively as Jews, because they were from Judah. Earlier in Israel's history, the dominant identity was Israelites. But after the exile of the northern tribes, the name Jew became the primary label for God's covenant people. Even when Judah fell to the Babylonian Empire, their identity still remained, though. See, the northern kingdom, when they were captive, they lost their identity. They were no longer known. The Israelites faded. They became Jews. But what's interesting is when the Babylonian Empire took over Judah, the Jews, the name never, it never was dissolved. That name remained, which was interesting.
Wait, I'm a little confused.
Okay.
So they became known as Jews because of the tribe of
Judah.
The
Southern kingdom.
the southern kingdom.
Yes.
That's why.
Yes.
And because Genesis 49:10, right? I mean, it says that it will remain coming from the tribe of Judah. No, is that what you read?
No, that was David. That was Grandpa
Okay.
David. Remember David, Solomon, and then after that, the separation. So this is David prophesying over, and so it came from that prophecy
And
of Judah, prophesying over Judah. Jacob prophesied over his son.
You said David. Jacob?
Oh, what did I say?
He said David. But in 49, in Genesis 49, he's talking about Jesus, though, because later on it says he will tether his donkey.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't mean David. I mean Jacob.
Oh, okay.
Okay, because I got Jacob and Solomon. Jacob prophesied over his son Judah, and that was why that southern kingdom held for so long. And it's the reason why even after they were taken in captivity, their names still remained, and they still were known as leader of the people. And I'll show you. Let me continue on.
So
Yeah.
When they became Jews, but they became Jews because of Judah, so which means that they didn't lose their identity, right?
Right.
So if they didn't lose their identity, wouldn't they have been still, Israelites?
No, the Israelites lost. The northern kingdom lost their identity when they were taken
They
captive.
kept the Israelite identity in the north.
Yeah, but.
Yeah, they held on. The northern held on to their identity as Israelites, and that's what they called the northern kingdom. When they were taken captive, that name faded with them. It scattered with them. All that was left was the southern kingdom, which is Judah and Benjamin's. That's the only thing that's left. So now we're only dealing with this bottom part, and now the headquarters is Jerusalem, and so now the identifying, because they're scattered everywhere. So now the identification of those people are Jews from Judah. But you will see that name also then spreads over to all people. And let me finish that, and it may answer what you're asking. So in 2 Kings 25, it describes the Babylonian invasion. We won't go there, but that's where King Nebuchadnezzar carried many of the people away into captivity. Even in captivity, the people retained their identity as Jews. They were no longer simply defined as a land or a political independence. They were defined by covenant, scripture, by who they worshiped. By the time the Persian period, this name was firmly established. Ezra 4:12. The enemies of God's people wrote to the Persian king, and I'm just giving you an example. Okay, Ezra 4:12. The king should know that the Jews who came here to Jerusalem from Babylonian are rebuilding this rebellious and evil city. They have already laid the foundation and will soon finish its wall. The scriptures, because we recognize that they're identifying them as Jews. That's how the people. Remember how the old other scriptures they're identifying them as Hebrews, then they were identifying them as Israelites or the children of Israel. Now they're being identified as Jews. Now notice the language. They're not called Israelites anymore. They're called Jews. The same pattern appears throughout the book of Esther, which is the book of Esther is entirely in Persia. And briefly, Esther 2:5, where I won't get into it, but it introduces Mordecai. Mordecai is in that story, but the reason I bring his name up is because he is known as a Jew. Okay? Even though he is identified as being from the tribe of Benjamin. So Mordecai is not from Judah. Mordecai is from Benjamin, but the identity has spread. Now it's known as, whether you're Benjamin or the remnant, is known now as Jew. So it shows that by this time the term Jew applied to all covenant of the southern kingdom. Not just from the tribe of Judah anymore.
Mordecai was from where? What tribe?
Benjamin.
Benjamin.
But we noticed that he is identified as a Jew. So by the New Testament era, this is fast forward all the way to the New Testament, Jews had become the universal identity. When the wise men arrived in Jerusalem, they asked in Matthew 2:2, "Where is the newborn king of the Jews?" And then Pilate asked Jesus directly, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And then when Jesus was crucified, the sign placed above his head declared, "This is Jesus, the king of the Jews."
So now it's encompassing all the tribes.
Yes. So from his birth to his death, Jesus was identified publicly as a Jew, specifically as the promised son of David from the tribe of Judah. And then the Apostle Paul takes it further, and he overlaps. And this, I'll just read this, Romans 11:1. 11:1 Romans. Get that, Lou?
Yeah.
And this is what Paul says. "I myself am an Israelite, a descendant of Abraham, and a member of the tribe of Benjamin." He's just putting, he goes, Hebrew, Israelite. He's putting them all. Paul is crossing over. It doesn't matter. Now we're all Jews. Paul was ethnically Jewish.
Say that again, what he said in Romans 11:1.
11:1. I myself am an Israelite, descendant of Abraham, and a member of the tribe of Benjamin. But he was known as a Jew. So he's all of them. Paul was ethnically Jewish. He was raised in Jewish tradition and culture. And he says he was an Israelite. So Paul was an Israelite by lineage, tracing his descendants back to Jacob. And he was also a Hebrew, belonging to the ancient covenant family that began with Abraham. And then Paul says in Philippians 3:5, Paul says all three identities together when he describes himself as the stock of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, and a Hebrew of the Hebrews. So in Paul's life, we see how a Hebrew, Israelite, and Jew are not contradictory terms. They are all layered identities. Now that we've identified each of these, let's cap it off. Hebrew, look back at what we did. The name Hebrew tells us the way back to the beginning. It's of Abraham. Genesis 14:13 we looked at calls Abraham the Hebrew. I'm just recapping now, marking him as the one who crossed over for this in faith from idol worshiping to worshiping one God. So every descendant of Abraham through Isaac and Jacob is a Hebrew. But it's important to remember that Abraham had other descendants as well. He had Ishmael and Esau. Were also Hebrews by lineage, even though they were not part of the covenant line that led to Israel. This is why not every Hebrew is an Israelite. Okay? Not every Hebrew is an Israelite. So with the Israelites, the title Israelite is more specific. It refers only to the descendants of Jacob. Remember, his name was changed to Israel. And from Jacob's 12 sons came the 12 tribes of Israel. I'm just summarizing. To be an Israelite meant being part of God's covenant nation, the people that he delivered from Egypt. But after the kingdom split and the northern tribe were taken into Assyrian captivity, the use of the term Israelite began to fade. The word Jew is the most specific of the three. It comes from Judah, the leading tribe of the southern kingdom. After the northern tribes were lost, the southern kingdom of Judah became the visible continuation of God's covenant people. Over time, everyone associated with this kingdom, whether from Judah, Benjamin, or Levi, came to be called Jews. By the time of the New Testament, Jews were the standard label, which is why Jesus is constantly referred to as the King of the Jews. So I bring all that together and to see how these connect. Jew, Israelite, and Hebrew. Okay? So see if you can follow me.
Okay.
Every Jew,
Okay, wait, is this the bottom?
I'll point to it. Every Jew is an Israelite.
Okay, are we filling the bottom?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
I'll put that in. Okay?
Wait.
That's different. I'm going to summarize that in there. Okay? So watch my finger,
Okay.
the bouncing finger. Every Jew is an Israelite because Jews descended from Jacob. Every Israelite is a Hebrew because that's Jacob's line, traces back to
Wait, you're
Abraham.
going too fast.
Every Jew is an Israelite. Every Israelite is a Hebrew.
Israelite. Okay, and every.
Okay, ready? Now hold on. I'm not. Okay, let me do it again. Every Jew is an Israelite. Every Israelite is a Hebrew.
Not every.
Okay.
But not every Hebrew is an Israelite because Abraham's other descendants were not part of Israel. That's why. And not every Israelite is a Jew because the northern tribes were Israelites.
Hebrew is it Israelite?
And not the last one.
You see that first? Not every Jew is an Israelite. Not every Israelite is a Jew. No, excuse me. Every Jew is an Israelite. Every Israelite is a Hebrew. But not every Hebrew is an Israelite, and not every Israelite is a Jew.
But I thought eventually Jewish encapsulated all of them.
Israelite is a Jew?
It eventually became, but hold on. Not every Israelite is a Jew because the northern tribes were Israelites, but were never called Jews. These names are not competing definitions, they're layers of identity, each revealing a different stage. So it's not so much, it's a stage in God's unfolding plan. So Hebrews speak of the origin, Israelites speak of the nationhood, and Jews speak of the survival.
Oh my goodness, we
Oh,
gotta write this.
wait.
Okay, I'll give you that. I didn't put things on for there. I'll just give it to you so you can write it. Ready? Hebrews.
Is this at the very bottom?
No, you just add. So the very bottom is, what did I put in the very bottom?
Should be having your
I don't
picture.
know. Put it away.
I'm doing it
What
now.
you're saying now is just something.
Okay,
outside
Hebrew
of-
speaks of origin.
Speaks of one
Let me see that paper. The story of God's faithfulness.
origin of
No. I'll give you that last thing, but not now. I'll give you a last thing. This is separate.
Hebrews speak of origin.
So I said,
Speaks of origin. Keep it like that.
you gotta get back to my
You're already
spot.
Israelites International.
Israelite.
So Hebrews
Okay.
speaks of origin.
Okay,
Hebrew speaks of origin.
Okay?
Okay, go slow.
Hebrews speaks of origin. Origin.
good.
Keep going.
Yes, please.
Israelite speaks of nationhood. Right? God's chosen people.
Okay. From the hood.
Jew speaks of survival. Jews was a remnant preserved through exile from whom the Messiah came from. So Jews, together they all tell the story of God's faithfulness. That's what this is, a part of a story. This is what you fill on your paper. You ready? The first line is Abraham.
Where?
On the bottom of your
Write
paper.
out the story of God's
Abraham. Got it?
Abraham first.
To Jacob. To Judah. To Christ.
To what?
Christ. Abraham to Jacob. To Judah. Then to Christ.
So they're all names except for the third one, so it's a place. I guess it's kind of irrelevant. I just understand.
What is that? If together they speak of, like when you were saying,
So let me cap this because I got 5 minutes.
okay.
So the question that I end with is, why should believers care about the difference between Hebrews, Israelites, and Jews? The answer is this. Because Scripture shows us that God's work has always been about more than ethnicity and bloodline. It has always been about covenant and faith. And the chosen people were not chosen to receive extra favor from God over others. The chosen people were not chosen to go to heaven only. The chosen people were chosen to reflect character and carry his promises to the world. And as I said before, Paul makes this clear in what I said. But these are the three definitions. So it's more than just it. What it comes down to is the heart. Is the heart. So it's not like people say, "Oh, now we're Israelite, we're Jews, and we're It's all a matter of the heart. Paul even said this. He
Where
said,
did he say that?
Romans 2:28, and I'll end with this verse. 2:28 and 29. 2:28, 29. Paul says, "For you are not a true Jew just because you were born of Jewish parents, or because you have gone through the ceremony of circumcision. No, a true Jew is one whose heart is right with God. And true circumcision is not merely obeying the letter of the law. Rather, it is a change of heart produced by the Spirit. And a person with a changed heart seeks praise from God, not from people. This is why there will be Jews that will not go to heaven. Why? Because it's a matter of the heart. This is why there will be Christians that will not go to heaven. Why? Because it's a matter of the heart. It's the heart changing. If the heart doesn't change, they could say every sinner's prayer till every day. They could go to church, they could teach Sunday school, they could be an elder, they could be a pastor. It doesn't matter. It's a matter of the heart. It's not their identity. Not every pastor is going to be going to heaven. And like not every Jew is going to go to heaven. Not every Christian is going to go to heaven. Why? Because Paul says it's not where you came from, it's a matter of the heart. So he wraps this all together in a package and says it's a matter of the heart. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Every when you say Hebrew speaks of origin, Israelite speaks of nationhood, Jews speaks of survival. Together they reflect what?
God's story of faithfulness.
God's story.
Okay.
I think that one of the light bulbs for me that went on is the chosen people. That's a big thing, and people don't like Israel because of that. Oh, God's chosen. No, he only chose them to reflect who he. So the world can. I'm going to choose these people. It's like I'm going to choose. God says I'm going to choose the relationship with Sandra to show you how I do this and that. That's what it was. Was Sandra more important than? No, that's not. He wasn't saying that. He was saying I'm just going to choose this relationship to show everyone what I can do and who I am. That's why he chose that people. So there will be Jewish people that will not spend eternity with God. But notice how God dealt with them, and notice how he always kept his covenant. And he kept his faithfulness. Does that mean that Israel or Judah, they'll always come on top or bottom? No, you can see they came on bottom. They came on top, on bottom. They separated. They got in captivity. But you watched how they went from idolatry to captivity, all the stuff that happened. But the picture isn't on them. The focus is supposed to be on how God responded. So when people say, oh, I can't believe God's blessing them. Why? Why not? It's like, well, because they don't deserve it. Neither do you. It's kind of like, well, they're not even following.
And even the whole story of Israel, I mean, they're the smallest. They're hated by everybody. They're like, and yet it's like a story, like I think you said in here somewhere in the notes, it's a story of survival. And yeah, they have like survived.
It's interesting how the small little piece of land is so targeted by the entire world. And I've never lived until now in a land where they were against Israel. We were always like for Israel. And now you see more people they're against. It's like you see this rise up. They're joining the rest of the world, and this rise up over what? And then the Christians attack them, back in the day because they did. Oh, they don't believe in Jesus, And it's so, yeah. Do you have a question?
Over there.
Yeah.
I just wanted to go off of what Sandra said. It's kind of like when we were talking earlier, the teacher's pet. Everybody, like, not you, but in
Are you talking about Dawn? I think she's talking about you.
school, like, there's always a pet, somebody that the teacher kind of seems to favor, and everybody kind of is against that person. Like, they don't like them because they're the teacher's pet.
Right. And I'm not saying that the leaders of these, people like, oh, I'm for this or whatever. There's bad leaders or good. There's always been bad leaders, good kings. Let me finish with this.
Sorry.
We're not going to go over this, but I'm just going to give this to you. Okay. This is the recap, and let me tell you what the recap is. Oh, done. Okay. It's 2 pages per person. 2 pages. This is periodically I'm going to give you the recap. The recap is going to be things that we've already learned. And I'm putting them together so you could take it with you. I chose these 2 were the mustard seed faith and Palm Sunday. And these were the truths that we learned so that you can keep those two pages.
This is the first
There's
one.
2 pages.
Yeah. Sorry.
I gave her the
I got
second.
number 3.
We're not going to read through them. They're for you to take with you.
Should we give them back to you?
Wait, I don't think so.
Wait, let me see what that.
One has the titles, the other one doesn't on there.
Well, I don't know if you're gonna do the favorite one.
This is why I recommend you put it in a 3-ring binder so you can start collecting these.
That's why God looks at the heart, not
And-
on
And
the
then, oh yeah,
works.
there you go. Right there, I missed that one. Okay.
What a mess.
Grace has been given to Dawn.
So that's why God looks at the heart, not on the works.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I put this together just for you, whether you have notes or not, but that way, some of the truths that we do, you can have that.
That's fun.
Yeah, thank you, I appreciate that.
Wait, is this not the same papers?
That's what I wanted to write, and I didn't write you.
No.
No, you should have in total 4 pieces of paper.
This is what it should look like.
If you want a copy of this recording, honey, you could stop the recording but keep the Zoom if you want. If you want a copy of, then you'll have to connect, and Nicole will give you a link. Once you have that link, you will always have access to the archives. Okay? In that case.